Now, what we also might want to do, or what we also want to approach, is when we look at the labor efficiency variance, recall that we have our actual hours at our standard price. And so what we see here is this is going to be the same that we had as before, 15,844. And then we compare that with the standard hours at the standard price, which is from our original data, the 882 multiplied by the $17. And so following this same formula that we have here, just take one, subtract the next one, we see that we have an $850 variance. So in the grand scheme of things, we have 16,776 is what it cost us. We had planned for 14,994. The difference between those two, so the total variance, here's what it actually cost us, but it should have cost us under 15,000. Our total variance is 1,782. Now, as it turns out, both of these variances are unfavorable, and the reason that so in the case of the labor rate variance, we spent more. We spent $18 instead of 17, and we also for the efficiency, we ended up spending more time. We did 932 versus 882. So these efficiency these variances reinforce one another here, and of course, as would be typically the case, we're highly sensitive to this if we have an unfavorable variance. It costs us more. It took more time. So that's why it's important to be prudent when you're setting up the standards that are available. So is this a reasonable standard? And if that is indeed the reasonable standard, then then this is something that we should hold them accountable for. So if the standard is that we should be spending $17 an hour on this production, why was it $18? And so that would be something that we would want to investigate more deeply in that regard. So, was there overtime? Did we reallocate resources and we have a more expensive person working on, in the production line? That could be a source of the labor rate variance. From the efficiency standpoint, why did it take 50 more hours to do than what was anticipated? Notice that it's $850 difference. I mean, that's that's something that's almost. I mean, they're both you know in there as in terms of the variances are concerned. They're both both have a positive value here, which means that they were more expensive. But this is something. Why did it take more time to produce the output that we had anticipated? Uh, One other note in terms of, just kind of if we're trying to establish a template or create a template, something you might want to be thinking about. This is where you would use an if statement to evaluate here. So if you go into if, and we'll do the logical test here. So if this number is greater than 0, then we would have the U for unfavorable, or I'll write it out here. You can, and otherwise we have favorable. And you have to put, when you're using an if statement, you want to make sure that if you want a word to come out, then in terms of the output, then you have to put those in quotation marks here. So here it will read this as unfavorable, copy the formula down, and we see that as unfavorable as well. And so when we go into the next set of variances, what I'd like to do is build that ahead of time, and then we'll go through and discuss that a little bit more fully.